For as long as people have been willing to trust each other, others have been willing to exploit that trust. From simple street-side scams selling fake watches to multi-billion-dollar Ponzi schemes, history is full of cons of every size. I'm Mike with List 25, and let's check out the 25 greatest cons in human history. #25. Lou Pearlman's Ponzi Scheme. Lou Pearlman was famous for bringing NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys to fame. They used that fame to dupe investors in a massive Ponzi scheme. People believed Pearlman could duplicate the success he had with the Backstreet Boys, but with stocks. And he did fool people. At one point, he claimed to own an airline. People believed him. Of course, it was a total lie. He took out $190 million in bank loans and financially ruined himself and whoever invested in this con. When the money ran out, he fled to Bali. Thankfully, he was caught and sentenced to 25 years behind bars. #24. George C. Parker and the Brooklyn Bridge. Ever heard someone make a joke about selling you the Brooklyn Bridge? Well, you can thank George Parker for that one. In the 1880s, Parker would find gullible tourists in New York and convince them that he owned the bridge. Fooled into thinking they would make a fortune charging a toll, the victims would buy the bridge from him. He made at least $50,000, and he did it more than once. That's actually probably a good thing, because if one person spent $50,000 on a bridge. #23. James McCormick's fake bomb detectors. James McCormick committed one of the most dangerous and beyond brazen cons of all time. He sold fake bomb detectors. He made £50 million selling around 7,000 of them to different countries. His machines were made to locate lost golf balls and were completely useless in bomb detection. And the horror of it all? Between 2008 and 2010, many of these devices were installed at checkpoints in Iraq. No one knows how many people died as a result of these useless machines. #22. The Affair of the Diamond Necklace. If a con leads to an entire revolution, then that's a hell of a con. The Affair of the Diamond Necklace involved Jeanne de Valois Saint-Remy, a fraudulent French countess. The cardinal was fooled into purchasing an extremely expensive diamond necklace that he thought was meant for the queen. The fake countess sold the necklace. When the fraud was exposed, the French people were outraged by the con. Needless to say, the French Revolution came soon after. #21. Milli Vanilli. It's hard to scam people when you're in the spotlight, but Milli Vanilli pulled off a hell of a con on the world stage and even won a Grammy doing it. The pop duo was huge in the 80s, sold nearly 9 million albums, and performed for stadiums. Turns out, neither of them could sing. They were hired to dance and lip sync to be the faces of the song, and they did their jobs well. When news broke that they hadn't sung a word of their music, they returned their Grammy and lost their careers. #20. Salvador Dali's verdant mustache. Okay, so maybe this isn't the greatest con, but it involves too many insane details to just ignore. Famous artist Salvador Dali once conned Yoko Ono out of $10,000. You see, she wanted his mustache hair for some reason, and afraid Ono was a witch, he didn't really want to oblige. But he still took her money and sent her a dry blade of grass from his yard in a nice box. Oh. 19. L.W. Wright, the NASCAR con man. Not every con is about stealing money. L.W. Wright conned his way into a NASCAR race despite having no experience driving. God, I hope just professionally, I hope he had some experience driving. He got into the Talladega 500 in 1982 after convincing people he had 43 starts in another series and was sponsored by Waylon Jennings. Despite numerous holes in his story, he managed to get a hold of a car and then borrow someone else's crew. What? He crashed in his second lap of qualifying and then was parked for not maintaining speed. And then he just vanished, never to be seen again. He's like the DW what's-his-face of NASCAR. We'll probably talk about that guy later. I don't know. No, that wasn't a con. That was a dude who just jumped out of a plane. I forget his name. It's initials. DW. Let me know in the comments below. Black glasses, jumped out of a plane with a bunch of money, never seen again. DW Hughley? DW... Damn it. It's on the tip of my tongue. 18. Van Brink's fake bank. Van Brink managed to start his bank in Granada using a fake $20 million ruby as collateral. Thousands of investors put their money into the fraudulent bank, giving Brink access to $170 million. Like many scams, it was run as a Ponzi scheme, so early investors, promised great returns on their investment, got checks back. Meanwhile, Brink was buying houses, vacations, and a yacht. Brink was charged with fraud, but died of a heart attack before prosecution. 17. William Meade's Comic Con. William Meade came up with the con to coincide with the arrival of Halley's Comet. He set up a fake meeting with a real contractor. At the meeting, they would discover a wallet. The paper inside would indicate it was owned by a stadium developer. Meade and the victim would meet the developer, who was Meade's accomplice. They'd convince the mark that he could lease the developer's stadiums for viewers to see Halley's Comet. The contractor would pay up to the tune of $10,000. Meade managed to pull this con off several times before the comet finally came and went. 16. William Thompson, the Confidence Man. William Thompson was a clean-cut, well-dressed con artist. His con involved approaching strangers on the street and striking up a conversation. Do you know those people who can talk to anyone about anything? What? Well, that was Thompson. At some point, he would say to this total stranger, "Do you have the confidence to trust me with your watch overnight?" And very often, the victim would agree. They just hand over the watch, and he'd just leave. 15. Henri Lemion and his fraud diamonds. Making diamonds isn't easy. Coal, which is carbonized plant matter, doesn't turn into diamonds. But that myth is so persistent, it allowed Henri Lemion to dupe the team who ran De Beers Diamonds back in 1905. Lemion mixed his secret chemical formula with coal and then put it in a furnace. When he pulled it out, well, diamonds were right there. Well, all he did was a sleight of hand switcheroo, but the De Beers team was convinced. Investors lined up, and it's estimated Lemion got as much as 1.5 million francs before he was found out. 14. Anthony Gignac, the fake Saudi prince. Anthony Gignac convinced people that he was Saudi royalty and scammed his way to $8 million. His scams involved duping other wealthy people to invest in things he claimed to be backing. Convinced he had a massive personal fortune, others readily agreed, and he made off with their investments. Gignac was found out when, working on a hotel investment scam, the hotel owner he was trying to rip off saw him eating pork, which is an act a Muslim just wouldn't do. He got 19 years in prison for his many schemes. 13. Count Cagliostro. Born in 1743, Cagliostro made a name for himself with schemes often based on the mystical and paranormal. He once scammed a goldsmith by promising to lead him to a secret cave of riches, only to have the man run off by demons, disguised goat herders Cagliostro had previously hired. He would tour through Europe, claiming to know mystical and alchemical secrets. He sold love potions and other elixirs that did nothing, but kept him living a rich and lavish lifestyle for years. He continued running scams and forging documents for over 10 years. 12. Lord Gordon Gordon and the Railroad. Lord Gordon Gordon kept his real name a secret. He pretended to be a nobleman and convinced people that he had an interest in America's new rail system. Believing him to be a wealthy European investor, railroad officials spent tens of thousands of dollars schmoozing him, convinced he had millions to invest. He did not. In New York, Jay Gould gave Gordon $1 million in stock and $200,000 in cash to take over the operation. This was in 1872, so today that's more than $29 million. After being found out, he fled to Canada and eventually took his own life. 11. Joseph Wheel, America's greatest con man. They call Joseph Wheel America's greatest con man, and his career lasted half a century. It's said that he scammed nearly $8 million from thousands of people. $2 million came from Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. A showman by nature, he even wrote an autobiography explaining his many cons and justified it all by claiming his victims all wanted to get something for nothing, so he gave them nothing for something. 10. Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. Theranos was going to change the world of blood tests. One finger prick and up to 30 tests could be conducted in mere hours. Founder Elizabeth Holmes sold it as a game changer. The company was valued at $9 billion and got $700 million in investments. Well, it turns out the company was a scam. Their machines didn't work. Holmes was just a con artist. She ended up getting 11 years in prison. 9. Fake footballer Carlos Kaiser. Carlos Kaiser managed to spend over a decade as a professional footballer despite never playing a game and having very little skill at the game. His scam was just to charm everyone he could. He'd talk up his skills to everyone everywhere until everyone had heard of him and how great he was, even if no one had seen him play. That got him signed to team after team, and when he had to play, he'd fake an injury and eventually get traded elsewhere. Faking an injury while playing soccer, otherwise known as soccer. Football. Look, I love the game. I think it's great. I'll take it more seriously when players stop faking injuries. Just stop flopping. 8. Frank Abagnale. Few con men are more well known than Frank Abagnale, thanks to Leonardo DiCaprio playing him in the movie Catch Me If You Can. Abagnale had a knack for being a chameleon and started his scams at the age of 15. He was caught and imprisoned in multiple countries, but he kept going, escaping from prison at one point and also committing various forgeries and impersonations. Ironically, his biggest con seems to be his life story as depicted in the film, much of which has turned out to be fake. 7. The Tinder Swindler. One of the most famous cons in recent years, the Tinder Swindler was the nickname of Simon Leviev, well, just his most well-known alias. His elaborate cons were essentially a $10 million Ponzi scheme across Europe. He would meet women on Tinder, pretend to be a rich businessman, and eventually claim he needed help because people were after him or some other excuse. He would pay older victims back with money from new victims to keep the fraud going. 6. Sam Israel and the Fake Death. Sam Israel III was a hedge fund manager who raised $450 million for his fund, which turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. To cover his fraud, he even founded a fake accounting firm to audit the real company and assure clients all was well. After being sentenced to 20 years, Israel tried to fake his death to escape justice, but got caught and earned 2 more years in jail. 5. Natwar Lal, India's conman supreme. Natwar Lal has been called the greatest conman ever. His life story is riddled with legend and exaggeration, so it's hard to know for sure what's true. It's said he escaped from prison 10 times, but his biggest scheme involved pretending to be a government official and selling the Taj Mahal. He did this 3 times. He was a master forger and had at least 50 aliases. His final prison escape came in 1996 when he was 84. His brother said he died shortly thereafter. His lawyer said he died in 2009. Officially, no one knows when he died. 4. Gregor McGregor's Scam Nation. In 1822, Gregor McGregor, amazing name, convinced people he was the prince of a land called Poyais. In reality, he was the son of a Scottish banker. He told of how Poyais had fertile land and an abundance of gold. All McGregor needed was investors to develop the land. He raised $200,000 in cash and bonds worth over £1.3 million, then filled 7 ships with settlers. They traveled to an empty corner of Honduras where no promised land awaited. Nearly 2/3 of the people died. McGregor fled and never faced justice. 3. Victor Lustig and the Eiffel Tower sale. Victor Lustig sold the Eiffel Tower not once, but twice. A Secret Service agent once told him he was the smoothest con man who ever lived. In the 1920s, Lustig pretended to be a French government official. He arranged to meet with scrap dealers and explained that the Eiffel Tower was going to be torn down. The scrappers bid on the job, and Lustig took the money. It worked so well that he did it a second time. Hey, it's still there. I think he lied to us. No one gets one over my head. 2. Bernie Madoff's epic scheme. Bernie Madoff pulled off arguably the biggest scam ever. For more than 20 years, Madoff allegedly managed to cost his investors over $50 billion. How did he do it? The biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. He promised big returns on investments, kept the money, and then paid off old investors with money from new investors. Things only fell apart in 2008 when investors wanted to cash out for more than Madoff had available. The fact he kept it going for so long was remarkable in and of itself. For his trouble and the sheer size of his scam, Madoff got 150 years in jail. 1. Charles Ponzi and the original Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi's name is synonymous with cons. As we saw with Madoff, a Ponzi scheme is a simple but unsustainable con. You offer a big return on investment and take people's money. When it comes time to pay out, you pay early investors with money from later investors. You can sustain this for as long as you can trick new investors. After that, you better have an escape plan. My escape plan is to never have done it in the first place. Ponzi pulled off his scam in the early 1900s and did it well for quite a while. He made $15 million in 8 months, which would be $222 million today. Eventually, he was caught and imprisoned before returning home to Italy. He died poor in Rio at the age of 67. So, have you ever been conned? Or have you ever run a con yourself? Let us know in the comments below. Wait, let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Oh man, I'll be here all 30 seconds. So dumb, I'm sorry. Check out our shorts. If you want small bite-sized version, come join our Discord. The family there is growing. We would appreciate that. And if you can, think of becoming a member so you can help support us so we can keep bringing this amazing content to you. Thank you guys so much. I love you. And as always, I'll see you next time.
Be sure to click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these videos here or just head to our website at list25.com.